All right, welcome back to the Farm to Film podcast, where I come from a farm and am pursuing film industry stuff. Thank you for laughing, Cameron. We have the star of Snatched here with us today, the one and only Cameron Cowperthwaite. Cameron, welcome to the
Hello.
pod. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. I'm a proud member of the farm.
Are you? Have you ever been to a farm?
Yes, I grew up in like rural Delaware, about like 20 minutes south of Philly. I usually say I'm from Philly because no one knows where Delaware is in LA. I feel like they
Mm.
think the roads go to Vegas and circle back. And I'm like, I had someone one time when I first moved here, I'd say Delaware, and you'd see people kind of like be like, oh,
It
like
is one of those
unaware.
forgotten states.
Yes. Like someone one time was like, "Oh, that's so sweet, man. You're Canadian." So I started
Oh,
saying Philly because people would be like, "Oh, Rocky," and you'd be like, "Perfect," because I'm like 20 minutes away, but very, very rural, and like Southern Delaware is very like farm-esque. So
okay,
close
okay.
enough.
Yeah, whenever I people ask me where I'm from and I say, Minnesota, they're always like, "Oh, where?" And I'm like, I promise you'll never have heard of it. It's a town of less than 800 people. It's 6
Yeah.
hours north of Minneapolis. Like it's basically Canada, middle of nowhere. Uh
Yeah.
and then they're like, "But where? Maybe I have." And I'm like, "Carlston, you've never heard of it."
And then inevitably, it's always like, "Oh no, I don't know where that is." You're like, I know, I know." Like Delaware was the same way. I would be like, they'd be like, "Oh, but where though?" I'd be like, "It's a highway state. Unless you've gotten drunk at our beaches, you don't know where it is."
I
You
don't
know,
I would say I don't know if I've been to Delaware. I've been to DC, but I don't
it's like a 45-minute train ride from
yeah.
DC. Yeah.
Okay. Is there anything to do or see in Delaware if I ever visited?
The beaches, I feel like, are what we have. There's
Hmm.
there's the Delaware and the Dewey Beach and Rehoboth Beach. These are like kind of nice beach towns, and
Okay.
there's definitely, or there was, I mean, before, I feel like Gen Z stopped drinking, there was quite a party culture there. So I don't know
Okay.
what it is now, but when I was growing up, that was like the place to be.
All right. All
Yeah.
right. So, born and raised in Delaware and now in LA pursuing the dream of film. And I'm curious how you got here. Let's start with the beginning of Cameron Cowperthwaite. Like
Well,
when did the dream of acting, the thought of acting, being involved in this industry, when did that first start in your life?
well, funny enough, I was born in LA,
Oh, born in
actually.
LA. Okay.
Yeah, and then when I was, but it pseudoly counts because when I was one, my parents moved to the East Coast, because I feel like, and I noticed this now, I'm at that point in my life where like some of my friends are starting to have kids for the first time. So
Mm,
you're noticing this like exodus towards wherever their parents are. It's free babysitting. I feel
right.
like it's just you can't. It's expensive in LA to do it anyway, but it's also
Mhm.
just like you need help, I feel like. So that very much happened with my parents, and they moved to the East Coast when I was one. But when they were out here and when I was born, my parents were actually like in pursuit of their own Hollywood dream. Um,
Mm,
my dad spent time as like an AD
okay.
and an extra, trying to find ways on set like everybody. And then my mom came from a stage manager theater background, and she became a script supervisor out here in LA doing like small shows and indies like in the 90s.
Mm,
And then moved to the East Coast where she ended up continuing that career. In New York and Baltimore and Philly, and I kind of grew up knowing what set was, because like visiting my mom at work was just visiting a set, because she was
very cool.
a scripty, which is, yeah, Department of One. And it gave me like an interesting vantage point from the crew side of things. But I
Mhm.
always knew that this was a job. I think it's like sometimes I meet actors, or you'll hear stories from other actors that are just like, I moved to Hollywood and had this ethereal kind of, like, a Tom Cruise just felt like he was just born in the movies. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
It wasn't like
Yeah.
this real job that was like a 17-hour day, and that wedding that you wanted to go to, you have to cancel that now because you book
Mm-hmm.
this one line co-star and you gotta like
Uh-huh.
do it, you know, and but I think I knew growing up like what the sacrifices were because
Mm-hmm.
you know, unfortunately my mom would work like a 90-hour work week and drive home from New York and maybe she'd make it to the wedding or the birthday party. So I had this sort of, I think, insider trading knowledge of what it sort of took sacrifice wise. You know, by the time she showed up on a job, like it was already cast, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and that side of things was still and still is a very elusive like portion of this industry. But I was lucky enough to kind of get my foot in the door early um with her. So like I kind of grew up knowing was the thing. And funny enough, growing up knowing was the thing was actually what made me very like trepidatious to start because like I knew how hard it was.
You
Like
saw
I
how the meat was
saw the
made.
physical nature of how difficult it was. And
Yeah.
so I went to the deal was in my family, the deal was you had to go to college
Okay.
and you had to finish. And then you could, you know, do whatever you wanted. Like I wish I think some people will ask me because my parents were like around the industry where they like kind of hippy dippy. And I was like, there was some leniency, but they were actually like relatively strict on like the societal code of like you have to go to school and get a degree. And
Okay.
I don't give a shit what you get a degree in, but you got to get one.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know,
Were
it
you
was,
allowed to do acting like in like middle school, high school, stuff like that? Were you allowed to audition
yeah.
or yeah.
Yeah. And my mom, I remember because she also had a theater background, because my parents met at the Alabama Shakespeare Festival, which is the
Mm,
second biggest festival next to the one in Edinburgh, or it was at the
okay.
time. I don't know if it is now, but at the time it was. And um, they, my mom kind of took a little bit of a break on the pursuit my sister and I were like really young, like kind of like birth through like fourth grade. What are you like 8, maybe 9, 7, but depending on your birthday at that
Yeah.
age,
Yeah.
which is kind of when she went back. But in that interim window, she would actually like direct our school plays. And the
Mm,
funny enough, because she had this background in this, like our school productions were like insane. Like people were like she choreographed these crazy things and she'd go get like local singers to play some of the older roles and recruited some of the parents and it
mm,
kind of became this like neighborhood lore, you know, in
okay.
a small town that like the plays were always so epic and she did like Annie and Schoolhouse Rock and Jesus Christ Superstar and all this stuff and it was really cool. I did some of the stage managing when I was younger, and then I was in two of them. I was in Godspell, and I was in I was in Godspell, and I can't remember the other one I was in.
Well,
I was
must not
School.
have been very memorable. Oh, okay.
I know Schoolhouse Rock. Yeah, no, it was great though. It was like it was a nice little kind of taste of, you know, what my mom was passionate about, which was always like theater and musicals and all that kind of stuff.
All right.
Yeah.
Very cool. You're like Nepo baby light, maybe.
I say that to people, I'm like, man, I wish it just I would milk that goat if it was I get it. You know what I mean? Like I
Yeah.
would own it, but
Hmm.
I sometimes I'm like, God damn, you
Yeah.
know, I wish it was. And sometimes it has been like I do say I did get an agent sort of accidentally because of it.
Hmm.
I She was in New York when I was in the late teenage years, like 18, venturing into that, like, what am I going to do phase of your life? You know,
Hmm.
like college
Hmm.
is, I think it was like, I don't even think I had been accepted anywhere yet. And I would go in the summers, I would go to New York for a little bit. And I started because we just like didn't know. Like I was like, okay, Mark Wahlberg, he got started in modeling, so did Channing Tatum. Like those were like the how do you break in? You know, because again, my mom, like it was already cast, so there was this like missing piece
Mm-hmm.
that I was trying to find, the answers to. And I did some modeling in New York and I hated it. I was
Mm.
terrible. I was so bad. I was like, this is not for me. But I ended up getting some pictures from it, and my mom, being my mom, like it was funny because the ploy ended up coming from like the most organic means. She was like showing people on set, and she was on the set of 30 Rock at the time.
Mm-hmm.
She was showing people on set like my pictures, but she wasn't like he's trying to be an
She's just so
actor.
proud of you.
She was like, look at my son. Look at my son.
Yeah. He's a terrible model, but he's a
Yeah,
nice
no,
guy, I promise.
well, she was of course like these are great, and I'm like, I can't get a job. Like at the start of the audition process, there was like, oh wow, it's hard to get a job in any
Yeah.
of these artistic avenues. But she ended up showing my picture to the head of makeup, whose sister was an agent in LA, and she is still my agent today, like 12, 13 years later.
Okay.
She was
Beautiful.
like, yeah, she put me on tape before self-tapes were a thing for
Mm-hmm.
this supernatural spin-off that they were doing like, I don't know, like 10 years ago.
Uh-huh.
And I got like a call back, and I was late in the audition process and they were already kind of testing another actor. I think it was like
Mm-hmm.
maybe like, I don't know, 2019 at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, this is great, did a call back, and then she was like, look, you're not going to get this, but if you ever come out to LA, like look me up. And I was like, okay. And then I had a friend in college who was like, hey, I'm kind of going out here to be a writer. And he was my roommate for like 7 years when we first got here because we road tripped out. And I showed up, I kind of like knocked on her door back when like, people were in office.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, hey, I'm here. And she's like, what? And
Who are you?
I was like, what do you mean, what? Like, you told me to fucking drive out here. And she was like, no, 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 no. It's
I
just
say
most,
that to everybody.
yeah. I was like, what the fuck? But she was like, no, 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 no. Most people just don't come. And I was
Mm.
like, oh, well, I'm here.
You did
And
it.
she was
You
like,
followed through.
well, let's do it. And then we've been doing the dance ever since. She's like my
Beautiful.
West Coast mom.
It's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
So what did you end up studying in college? And in that whole time were you still like, I'm just gonna eventually go back to acting, or was any part of you like, oh, maybe I will do this thing?
I was pre-med in college,
Mm.
actually. So
Wow.
yeah. And I knew before I graduated that I was going to try to take a swing at this endeavor. Like,
Hmm.
not to be morbid, but when you're getting towards the graduate school portion, like you're finishing up undergrad, you need these hours of like interning with like doctors or doctors' offices or a hospital or like there's many different levels, but essentially to just acquire these hours, which is like indentured servitude. I think the whole like you're going to volunteer for 1,500 hours is just
Wild.
like you're not learning anything. You're carrying coffee. It doesn't like that's a whole different conversation, but
Hmm.
it's just like I remember being like this is so backwards and it was so competitive and I was quite the procrastinator scholastically. Like I was a bit of a back row hooligan, so I really cut as many corners as possible. I wasn't
Hmm.
passionate about it. I don't know if you
Hmm.
were, are you like were you good in school?
I was, but I also went to such a small school. I don't know how much I was challenged, but I
Right.
was such a people pleaser. I always wanted the teachers to be impressed with me.
Okay.
So I had, like certain, like my mind naturally was like good at math ever since I was a little kid. Like I did extracurricular math,
Yeah.
like after school.
Okay.
Um, and so like I was like a straight A student by the time I graduated. So
Beautiful.
yeah.
I like I would do well out of fear because if I got a C, my mom would kill me.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So like I did well, but
That's
I was like,
drastic.
I know it's a heavy burden to bear,
Murder.
especially
Yeah.
when you're like not good at a certain subject. But I
Hmm.
like I had the aptitude. I don't know. I guess there was a natural rebellious portion of me, but
Yeah.
by the time college had rolled around, I just didn't know what I wanted to do. And most of my friends that were at the school that I had gone to that were like from my high school were like doing like kinesiology, or like they wanted to be a physical therapist, or they wanted to be like in pharmaceuticals. So I was like, I guess maybe I'll just like do this and make money. Because at
Hmm.
that point, the portion of me that was passionate about movies and film and television, which was always there, I think I just had like gotten afraid.
Mm.
And the reason I say all that is that by the time I got to my senior year, I had stacked my curriculum to be front loaded. So like all my doctor's courses were in the beginning.
Hmm.
And then you have to take these like liberal arts classes. So I did all this theater stuff towards the end of my tenure in college. And
Hmm.
I got stuck doing those hours in children's oncology, which is the worst. Like, it's as if time stops in a layer of hell. Like, it's kids with
Mm.
cancer, you know?
Yeah.
And the nurses that were there that I was shadowing are like the most beautiful people that have ever graced Earth. Their sense of
Mm.
humor and their kind of ability to not bring the work home.
Hmm.
And it's sort of funny how it all kind of derives from this acting of like we all have to work on that, like separating ourselves from a role that's difficult. Now, it's not quite the same because we're in make-believe land and they are in not
Life or
make.
death situations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I I struggled. I was supposed to be there all summer. I think I made it maybe 4 days
Mm.
because it was just so I my first day I was like a young 8-year old had had her like leg amputated, and I was like, oh my God, this is just, but
You're too empathetic of a person. You're an actor, you're an
right, oh my
artist. Your
God,
heart can't handle it.
it was just so, and just the parents, and I was like, but the silver lining, not to use this as cannon fodder for the reason that I became an actor, but like the silver lining, it really was, and I know this sounds cliche, but seeing that, like you see a kid with tubes and you're like, dude, if I'm gonna make a call in my life, I better do it right fucking now. And I had
Hmm.
also been going to we actually had a lovely repertory program at the University of Delaware, which is where I was studying, because it's just you're like an hour and a half train ride from New York. So you can get these off-Broadway actors that are just lovely. And The Cripple of Inishmaan was a play, which was a play by Martin McDonagh, was going up.
Hmm.
And he's probably one of my favorite writers, although I'm sure he's probably one of everybody's favorite writers now at this point. But this
Hmm.
is before he did movies. Like this was
Hmm.
when he was just doing like just his plays. And I saw this play, and it was really about like an unsung hero kind of like taking control of his life. And in that moment, I'm also doing this volunteering, and I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna try this acting thing that I've been scared to admit I've always wanted to do. And like it was
Yeah.
like a perfect storm, plus the agent kind of looming in the back of my mind, and I was like,
Hmm.
I gotta go. So that was the beginning, long-windedly. Sorry, that's like such a long story, but
Yeah. I mean, it's your life journey, and you've been doing it for
that
a long
is.
time. So
Yeah.
it's hard to condense. There's a lot of experiences within there that you don't we don't have time to get
Fully
to.
dive into. But yeah,
Yeah.
that's like the real honest, like these things that play over my mind. Sometimes I look back on that and I'm like,
Hmm.
man,
Hmm.
what a wild series of decisions that gets us to be here right now. Like if you
Have
looked at yourself at a map, it would be insane.
Yeah. Have you
Like
gotten
to
to
just
use any of that medical experience in any roles yet?
there are times in certain auditions for certain medical procedurals that I'll be like, I know what these words mean. I'm a
Hmm.
little far, especially in the beginning. Now I'm a little far removed from it, where I'm
Mm.
like, wait, that's what? But
Right.
in the beginning, there were times where I was like, I know how to pronounce this, and I don't need to look this shit up. And that was kind of nice because
Hmm.
I feel like you'd be in acting classes or audition technique classes, and there'd be arguments over how these things were pronounced, you know?
Yep.
So
Yep.
I got to dodge that bullet for a little bit, but I was
Beautiful.
never cast.
All right. Do you have any I mean, you've been doing this for a long time. Do you have any roles, memories, projects that really stick out as like milestones for you or like really pivotal, important like memories, moments of inspiration, anything that like almost broke you as an actor and you said, I'm done with this. I quit the industry.
Oh, God. I mean, so many. It's so weird because I like the I would say when I did Feud, I got this audition to play this real guy. His name is Michael Parks because
Mm.
the first season of Feud, Betty and Joan was doing an episode where they were shooting an episode of Perry Mason when Betty Davis had joined that show. And Michael Parks is a real actor who actually like grew up to do some of Quentin Tarantino's movies, like Kill Bill and stuff like that. So I was like, man, if I book this 1 degree from Quentin Tarantino.
Hmm.
And I remember they were doing because of the show and like it's in like that era where like the transatlantic accent was so palatable, like so palpable and like everything that was done. I spent like I maybe watched they sent this video along and this was just like a small guest star role, but they sent this video along and um I did I watched it over and over and over and over again and like I'll never forget. It was such a good learning experience because I went into the room back when there was a room and I auditioned. And as I was leaving, I like mimicked every single thing that he had done in the show, like to the line, and then
Hmm.
learned the accent. And as I was leaving, I heard overheard casting go, "Thank God someone did their fucking homework." I'm guessing other people had not, but I booked that job. And funny enough, that was kind of my intro into Ryan Murphy's world, which I would argue has been like this kind of touch and go thing where, you know, I mean, he does so many shows and he's got so many actors,
Hmm.
but you'll like come in, you'll do a couple things, you'll come out, you'll get a call to do something else. Like it's this touch and go process where you're kind of like so grateful to be like in his orbit.
Hmm.
And I remember we were shooting that, and that was my first Ryan Murphy thing. And we were shooting the scene, and Susan Sarandon was doing some improv, and I was improving with her, and it was like such a fun, like what a fucking legend,
Yeah.
Susan Sarandon, you know?
Hmm.
And it was such a fun moment, and she was so complimentary and so like lovely and sweet and present, and it was just a lovely experience. And we were talking after one of the takes. And I see this gentleman kind of like sit like right over her shoulder. And this guy kind of like sort of in the distance and he kind of goes like this, like a beckon. And I didn't know who it was. So I was like, and I just kind of put my hand up like, 1 second.
Yeah.
I'm with
We're
Susan.
busy.
I'm with Susan
Yeah,
Sarandon.
can't you see?
And Susan Sarandon kind of like turns around and goes, "Oh, sweetheart, you should go over there. That's Ryan Murphy."
You hadn't noticed.
But I hadn't noticed. And well, ignorance is bliss in that regard. But
Yeah.
I got to have a conversation with him, and it was cool because it was like that. It was interesting. They did an episode later that unfortunately I got cut from, but Susan Sarandon was asked. So Betty Davis was like a cougar before the term was coined, and she had to do this scene at like a Hollywood party and they were like, "Hey, you have to like kind of like smoke weed and like make out with this actor. Like, do you want us to like
Oh.
cast somebody? Do you know somebody?" Like they were trying to be respectful, And
Hmm.
she was like, "Yeah, that Cameron kid I just worked with who's really nice. You can bring him back. Like we don't need to audition someone else." So I get this call to do I'm like, "Holy shit, I'm gonna go do another episode." Unfortunately, I got cut, but it was so nice to like get brought back. And then I saw Ryan again and he was like, "Welcome back." And I was like, "Yeah, great to be here." And a couple months go by after that, and I got a call to do American Horror Story,
Mm-hmm.
which was the first time I was ever like offered a job. Like I didn't have to audition.
Must be
And I was
nice.
like,
Yeah.
what
You've
is
really
happening?
made it.
I was like, I literally was like, this is people talk about acting like this is like this job is so hard. Like you just show up if you do your job and you do your homework and you're nice and all of these things I had built up, then people just call you.
Mm-hmm.
And it was such a beautiful moment, but it was also like such an interesting learning experience because that's not how this business works at
Yep.
all.
Very rarely.
And I think I had this moment early where I was like, oh my God, what a joke. Like I booked my first audition I ever, like the when I landed in LA, I booked my first audition ever.
That's also rare, I think.
And
What was the
these,
job?
it
What
was
was
a
the
Criminal Minds Beyond Borders spin-off episode. And I
not
just,
even not even some student film,
no,
a TV
no, like a
show.
network TV. That's what I mean.
Oh.
I was like, oh, I'm team. I was like, this is you learn your lines, you show up prepared.
Mm-hmm. I'm
This
about
is
to be
all,
I'm about to be on Marvel in a few years. Just get ready.
yeah, this is all that matters. And it's interesting to your question that like that was like so beautiful, but
Mm-hmm.
also like it was a tough come down because that's not how this industry works.
Mm-hmm.
And then the phone doesn't ring, and
Yep.
you have to kind of like sober up to the idea that like this industry sort of lives in momentum pockets of time where like
Mm-hmm.
one thing can lead to another and the whole when it rains it pours and then you can be dry and you have to learn how to survive in those droughts.
Yep.
It's it's
Survive
so
and like stay like hopeful and motivated and right,
oh
because
that is what I feel like the job of the actor is, and I'm sure other people have said this too, but it's like it's the downtime, it's the auditioning. I think Harrison Ford was like auditioning's the job, sets a paid vacation. Like that's so true.
truly. Mm-hmm.
It couldn't be more true because over the course of the years I've been doing this, there's been so many like almosts. Like you live your life sort of to the beat of this almost drum where you're
Mm-hmm.
almost the guy, or they almost loved you, or you were almost cast, or you
Yep.
booked the job and you got cut from the episodes, you were almost in it.
Yep.
Like it's a land of almost that could drive us absolutely crazy if we let it.
And funny how you talk about the 1,500 hours of internship, shadowing, all that stuff that goes into like the medical stuff. And it's like, I mean,
Yeah.
that like kind of has become your life of like hundreds and hundreds of hours you've put into researching roles, memorizing lines, self-taping, watching YouTube videos, like
Mhm.
getting into characters and then never booking the job.
No.
So
And I try my best. And I'm sure we all have moments of being
yeah.
like jaded, but I try my best to like if I get an audition, I don't turn it down. I
Hmm.
know actors that do, and I'm a little like, I mean, do you if you don't want to do it, you don't want to do it. But like I look at it as ammunition or practice or a chance to meet somebody like you don't know, like I don't it might be great. You might actually end up liking it if you say the lines out loud. And I try to learn all my lines. Like I know people that tape that shit up.
Hmm.
I try to like remember every time something comes in that like there are people that would slaughter
Hmm.
for this opportunity that this indie that you're gonna poo-poo later. You know what I mean? So
Yep.
I try to remain like humble to the fact that like I'm lucky enough to like have a team that gets me reads when they can.
Hmm.
Because
It's
that in and
great.
of itself is its own battle.
It is. It is
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
Um, we've talked a lot about sort of preparation, a little bit about preparation, research, and I have some questions for you about
Yeah.
Snatched. If we can talk
Yeah.
about Snatched for a little
Let's
bit.
let's do it.
Um, this was a quite a role for you. You get to become a drag queen in this film.
Mhm.
You play Jimmy, and yeah, what I mean, and you and I met a couple years ago when I was
Yes.
doing I was doing a little like virtual reality immersion experience with like an
Huh?
escape room and is space and then there was a lot of improv and you were friends with the team behind that, Danielle, who was the director, and her, I think you knew her husband Ryan, right? That's why
I
you came
knew
through.
Ryan. Yeah, Ryan was my he was the one who actually invited me to show
Mhm.
up and come do this
Yeah.
thing where we met.
Shout out Ryan Turner. What a great guy.
Yeah, well, I love him. I saw him actually like a week ago. He was at a premiere of an indie that I did, and he was gracious enough to show up and show support, and I love Ryan.
I
So
also saw him about a week ago at a table read that for Danielle's working on a
for
script.
Danielle's
So,
script, they were talking about that.
hmm
They said it
hmm
was great. They
it
said
was
it
very
went really
fun.
well. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
And
Another
kudos to her
space
for
film.
writing a screenplay. Like,
It's a lot of work.
oh my God.
She did a great job.
That's
So yeah, so that's how we met. You came and you saw me and Danielle, and we did our little show. And I was working on Snatched at the time, and I was
yeah.
working on my list of actors. And after I met you, I said, "Gosh, he would be good for Jimmy," and I wrote your name down. And
I'm so happy that you did because that was I think I told you this, but like that role or this role was by far the most demanding physically of even though we shot for 3 days, it could have been 9 months. My back thought it was 9 months. Like
you had we put you through it.
no, and it was even like the makeup, which took 3 hours every day, I think,
Yeah.
roughly.
Can I share
And
some? Can I share a little bit BTS photos while you're talking?
oh my God, yes. Um, and the wig and like the weight of the wig, and also shout out to the ladies of the world that wear high heels in the 5 inch capacity, because my calves were uninitiated to the and the arches in my feet. Like I think I took every physical opportunity to sit down when I could, but then
Hmm.
also like the raw power of the makeup, the clothing, which you did such a good job, by the way, of like the makeup's amazing, the clothing is amazing, the heels were amazing, the wig was amazing, the whole aesthetic. And shout out to Maliki who did the makeup, like
Hmm. And
who I
the costumes.
and the costumes, according to him, is my drag mother because he did my he was the first to put me into
Yeah.
drag. So that is a blessed and sacred relationship.
Yeah.
And
Can you see the pictures?
yes, I
Yeah,
can.
there they are.
Like this was such a process and there's such a romance to this because and he was talking about it kind of while it was happening that there were shifts in your body, the way you dropped a shoulder or the way you sat or the way your neck tilts, things that you couldn't plan for, couldn't act. Like it was because this transformation was happening that if you gave yourself over to it, I really felt like, wow, this is such a powerful art form, the drag art form. It was something I had done research on when you had sent me the script, but
Hmm.
I don't know if it was something a research could have ever given me all the clues to without just the physicality of doing it.
Yeah.
And
There's
I
quick shout
had,
out to Danielle on screen.
yeah, there we go, Danielle. I had such a blast being able to do this. Like I think,
You
you know,
really like took to this role.
I loved it. I
Yeah.
did. I mean, I sent you, I remember right before we were I was playing with some of the physicality, and I think I sent you this like walking video in my underwear,
Hmm.
I think. Because I wanted to wanted to show the body, I think clothes
Yeah.
would have, and I think that's the intimacy of acting and directing and doing this relationship together is just like it's like you kind of got to lay it all out there.
Yeah, you did.
But I appreciate that you trusted me with this, because this is a special story. Like this is a very timely, very important, very
Yeah.
fun, dangerously kinetic, vibrant community filled story that I think I hope that people take to it the way we all did on set. because
Yeah.
it really did a fantastic job, and the script is so fun, and I think this is such a palatable download for people who aren't familiar with drag.
Yeah. That was the goal is like I wanted to do something obviously that is very drag centric.
Yes.
Um and it has to be fun, it has to be colorful. But it also has to be dangerous, you know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
um
Like that cartwheel in heels,
oh my
which we got on
gosh.
the first take.
We had, yeah, one take of you doing cartwheel in heels. I
And we
was
got him.
very worried because we were
Yeah.
already like running a little overtime that night. It was
And it
probably,
was late.
it was, yeah, it was probably close to 1 in the morning at that point,
Yeah.
midnight, one in the
I,
morning.
I think the beauty of doing it at 1 in the morning was I was like, I had no like fear. I think I was too tired to have any fear complex or sort of like anything that would have allowed me to go, hey, maybe you should like not do it in the heels, but we did it.
I know.
We
I was just
got
like, if this goes wrong,
it.
how do we like how do and we don't finish the shoot tonight? Like we're screwed. What happens if you like break your ankle? What you twist your ankle?
But
So we
film
got
this forever.
we got some fight choreography to do.
I know.
Um,
Film this forever. But we got I
yeah, I have a few of those BTS. Hold on. This is
oh, yeah.
the stunt crew
This is so
outside.
good.
You and I in the alley.
Oh my God.
Look how dirty that the ground is there.
No. This was such a fun, just such a fun couple of days. I wish we got
Yeah.
as I know we said earlier, you're like, I wish I had more
Mm.
time. We always wish we had more time, but this is quite a character. I hope you get to make the feature film version of
I hope
this.
so too. I hope so too. I hope you're there.
Oh, I'll be there
All right.
in all the heels.
Um, yeah, so tell me a little. So I mean, obviously you're like walking in heels, acting in heels, doing stunts in heels, and the makeup and the hair. Like it was like, especially the first day we shot. The first scene
Yeah.
we shot was you getting into drag, so we had to like put a little bit of makeup on you, get you in front of the mirror, you had to like do things, make it look like you're
Yep.
putting on your own makeup, and then we would take a break and you would go do like
Mhm.
another hour of makeup. It was a very like I think a good way to start because it was a really like slow ease into like getting into that character. But
Yeah.
um yeah, what was that like? What's that experience getting into drag, putting on the clothes, the makeup, how was that for you?
I mean the first part of it feel like the first time we did the
We
make
did the
like
test too, the day.
the test, yeah, that
Mhm.
you're kind of like, oh my God, I'm so happy we did this test before we started because it did something where I was able to kind of think of fill in a few gaps, as I said, like there's just certain things without doing it you would have just never even thought of,
Mhm.
and it was kind of this like had I not done the makeup, I remember when I wrote on the mirror with the lipstick,
Mhm.
when I thought about it, it felt like this jagged, like standard font. But then once you have the makeup on, it was like, oh, this is cursive.
It's fabulous.
You know what I mean? Like, but there's things like that, like small little details like that, that one, like, I'm such a nerd for this film world we live in that like those little details, like I geek out over that kind of stuff. But it
Hmm.
was like, but that's sort of like the informative nature that like the makeup was having. Like
Hmm.
I think it's you'd probably be hard pressed to find that every actor would want to do this, but I do think that there's such a benefit to doing this.
Hmm.
And early on in my acting career, I had done this performance art at my acting studio like years before COVID. And it was this gender bender exercise where like you sing a song. If you're a guy, you sing a female song. And if you're obviously a girl, you sing a male song. Like, and
Hmm.
you kind of tell this personal story and like work the lyrics of it into it. It was very, very artsy.
Hmm.
And I did a Taylor Swift song.
Which one?
Uh, which song did
I'm
I
a
do?
Swiftie, so
I
you
know.
opened the floodgates.
I am not a Swiftie, so I feel like
Okay.
I can't remember. I'll text it to you. I can't
Okay.
remember,
Okay.
but um it was a popular track. I mean, which tracks
Okay.
aren't popular
I don't know,
though?
like you belong with me, or like like what one of the older classic
It was older. Yeah, 'cause
early, yeah.
this would have been 2017. So it would have been this is older.
Okay.
But I'd wear
Yeah.
like heels in this performance art, and I remember like everybody in the audience had this kind of energy about like being brave to for both genders to kind of swap and do this
Hmm.
experience. And it really was this like, wow, I don't ever think about this kind of stuff. And I think when we were doing this makeup process, it was another sort of like, wow, like the queens that do this, the effort every single time they put all of this on for
Hmm.
us as an audience.
Hmm.
It's like such a sacrifice. Like I know it sounds, like you're sitting in a chair, but like there is something mentally stimulating and then also mentally taxing of like you have to just like take these 3 hours to sort of let this kind of absorb into your skin. I think like
Yeah.
Jake already was talking about that for Frankenstein because I think he did like 11 hours and he was like, yeah, but I let it prep me. And I was like,
Hmm.
I'm gonna take a note out of his book and do the exact same thing. And Malik,
Hmm.
you did the makeup was like, this is me every time. This is me every time.
Right. And they have to do it for themselves, whereas like you got to like sort of like get into character as
Yeah, I
this
got to
was
like
being done to
drift.
you.
Yes, and I got to like kind of like drift and
Hmm.
also check in and like what's funny is that I had this need to like as it was happening, like I had this need to like be sexy.
Hmm.
Like this drive, this like aura or like this posturing of like I need this to be hot. And then, I don't know if that's
Why?
something
Why did you feel the need to be hot?
because there's such a power to the drag persona. Like I don't think
Hmm.
I've ever seen a drag queen mimic meekness in any regard. There's
Hmm.
this overarching 8 feet tall, like neck up, chest out sort of vibe. And I feel like the ownership of that power, whether that's in them already or the makeup is doing that, is something that I was like, this is important to show and emulate. Like I was
Hmm.
watching, doing research and watching all of these drag queens, and I was like, all of these personas feel like the Batman to their Bruce Wayne. Like the alter ego is incredibly powerful and strong and says what everybody's thinking, and filters are bullshit. Like it
Hmm.
feels this unfiltered mess, and you like me or you don't like me. And I
Yeah.
think there's something so incredibly powerful that I found within myself, like doing that, where I was like,
Hmm.
it's okay. Like, it was just like I want to feel sexy. Like, you know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
such an incredible unlocked key of this box that maybe was put away a long time ago that you don't always think about. We
Hmm.
always want to look like our best selves, but this was such an
Sure.
opportunity to kind of showcase that, you
Yeah.
know. Yeah.
Yeah. That's beautiful.
Yeah. It
The
was love.
And there is something about this character that is a little bit of like an alter ego, or sorry, yeah,
Mhm.
it's like superhero in a
Mhm.
sense. I feel like the deeper and deeper I got into like the story, I was like, yeah, this is a horror comedy, but it's also kind of like a dark superhero story.
Yeah,
Very
it is
vigilante.
full vigilante. Yeah, and I did think about that. Like I was like even the signature with the bat, you know what I mean? Like everybody's got their signature tool and like what can we do to play with this? Like I was trying to just make sure that when we were doing this, like every detail felt like even if it happened by accident, it happened by accident because we were thinking about like the point of view,
Hmm.
and we had enough time even in the 3 days to kind of like play,
Yeah.
move around and you did such a great job with the specificity of everything that you wanted and like even like the dress being cut from the flannels. Like there's so much detail that it was pretty easy for me to kind of just like live in that space, which was really, really fun. It
Yeah.
was really
That's it
was the
was great.
hardest
I
or
like
most fun thing?
yeah, and I like you talk about the physicality of it. It's like yeah, like I mean, part of why I wanted to feature drag in something that I did is like, I mean, for many years, I was very much avoiding anything drag related because I've talked about this on previous conversations, but it's
Mhm.
sort of like growing up in a very like Christian, very like small conservative area, and then
Yeah.
going to chase my dreams in Hollywood. I sort of felt this need to like make my hometown proud, like be representative of those
Mhm.
beliefs. And so it was sort of like, oh, I can't support drag because if I did, that doesn't align with what I was taught to believe growing up.
Mhm.
And then like you finally like start actually like watching Drag Race, like going to some drag shows and meeting drag queens. And it's like, man, these people are so impressive
So
in
impressive.
like producing their own like one woman show, like
Yep.
spending hours and hours doing the makeup, let alone like investing the time and the money into like putting a look together, figuring out how to do makeup. Like it's impressive. And
It's that, and that's something again
and then standing in heels all day.
all day. And it's like anything, music, acting, a drag queen show. It all, when it's going really well, it all feels so easy. Like
Yes.
you see a Meryl Streep performance and you're like, I think I could be an actor. I mean, like she's just saying,
Mm-hmm.
but you
Mm-hmm.
don't realize all this, you know what I mean? And drag was very much foreign to me in that regard because I was like, oh, they show up and
Yeah.
do their makeup, but I didn't realize like how many layers and you have to light the lighting of a lot of the bars that the drag queens do these performances at are shitty. So they
Mm-hmm.
are, and this is their moneymaker. Their look,
Mm-hmm.
their makeup, their acting, their singing, whatever it is. So they're contouring based off of the bad lighting so that when a picture's taken, Maliki talked about this, that it would still shine through.
Mm-hmm.
Like the forethought of that in the performance art space is just like it's undefeated. Like it's just so cool to me that that's
Yeah.
something that is so thought out. And then when we, got to do the makeup for this, it was so cool to have all of this. And I hope everybody in the drag community loves this because you're getting to showcase this in a cinematic format where the lighting is like built for this makeup and built for this
Mm-hmm.
look and the contouring and the shadows. And I think it'll make everybody proud.
I hope so. I really
I
hope
think
so.
so. I hope
It
so
is
too.
very much what I've said a few times, like my love letter to the drag community.
Yeah. And
Um,
I think I hope that is received because I think that everybody on the set kind of led with that first.
mhm.
I was definitely thinking about anytime you do something for a specific community or a niche art form or a niche interest, like you want to get it right. I
Yes.
had this
Yeah.
kind of, especially like, getting handed the lead in your story, I was like, I really want to make sure I do this right. Like that's
Hmm.
always on my mind, I think. I'm
Yeah.
sure it's in yours as well.
Yeah, and I think like like I've had it was something I talked about with KBBQ and my leaky beforehand, and they did question, okay, well, why are you casting straight cis white male to play this lead role of this drag queen? And it's like, well, that is the the character in the story, that is who it is, and I really wanted I wanted to work with drag queens and cast drag queens, so we got some
Mhm.
local queens and of course Nina West, who is incredible.
Incredible.
Um, but there was
Incredible.
something about the transformation of Jimmy going from a straight guy who's never done drag to then being sort of like thrust into this role of
Mhm.
now you are a drag queen.
Yeah.
Um, and I think it's important to sort of like see multiple aspects of and getting your perspective of someone who hasn't done it to be able to step into that role. Um,
I think it allows, like you said, it allows this, for lack of a better term, like a box check of like you're extending your visual spectrum by having real drag queens and then someone like myself do it. Like it becomes this more expansive version of a story that puts a lot of people in a position of like I think questioning their own kind of interest in this art form. Like I
Yeah.
hadn't ever felt like a need or drive to do a drag show.
Hmm.
But like again, just like anything in in the acting sphere, like it opens up doors for you to experience something new. Like I'm so happy that I did. I'm so
Hmm.
happy that like and I showed some of the pictures to to friends, family, like and
Yeah. What
everybody.
was the reaction?
Oh my God. What was crazy is like everyone was like, damn, like you look good. And I was like, I'm a bad bitch. Like,
Hmm.
and
You wanted to be sexy, succeed.
everybody,
Check that box.
everybody thought all my straight friends, LGBTQ friends, female friend, like everyone across the board thought it was cool. And like that to me was like, oh, this is a still, like the film itself will have a deeper resonation because there's no emotional tie to that still in the same regard. So I was like, man, this is a cool little taste that this wide audience of at least my inner circle was like, yo, this is awesome. No one
Hmm.
was like, what are you doing? Everyone was like,
Hmm.
I sent it to my reps actually, and I think my agent responded with like, God, I feel like you can do anything. And I was like, thank
Yeah.
you for saying that. Like it was just like the support level was just so there. And I thought that like everybody thinking it was cool was just like I knew it.
Yeah.
I think I sent it knowing. I was like, I don't think anybody's gonna
You were
be like,
confident. You felt
yeah,
good about
I
what, yeah.
sent it confidently, like I think people are gonna respond. And it
Mhm.
was nice to have that be reciprocated.
Yeah. I really want to believe in a future where, like we're all in this together, right? So it's like we want to make cool content and we want to do it with all different types of people, different types of backgrounds. Cause it's like, okay, if it was just one group of people that really, uh, I feel like diminishes like the potential and the possibilities. So,
Yeah,
yeah, I was
I
excited
completely agree.
to have you on board, and I think that like the research that you did, that you put into like all the YouTube videos that you watched and everything you were telling me about, was there any drag queen in particular that you like did you remember sort of like sticking out in some of that early research stuff that you were doing?
No, I don't. I had also like with friends and
Hmm.
stuff like gone to like Hamburger Mary's, which is an incredible like brunch, very famous in West Hollywood. Like I've gone to that quite a bit. That like
Hmm.
in kind of just perusing Instagram and YouTube and TikTok and all this stuff, I was like, oh, like all this stuff kind of comes. You don't really. I feel like you don't always realize like how much you've kind of downloaded.
Absorbed, yeah.
Yeah, just in that like physical um just being so in body. Like I don't know
Hmm.
if I've ever seen anyone just emulate that like being in your body more than a drag queen. I mean
Hmm.
from the fingertips to the toes type thing. You know what I mean? Where everything like I feel like in this acting world we have this like be careful how big you are in terms of
Sure,
like
yeah.
expression.
Yeah.
Like, oh, like you want to keep it grounded. But what I
Hmm.
find about the drag community that's so incredible and something that I feel like should be studied
Hmm.
is there's a lot of big, but I never don't buy it. And that's coming from that has to
There's
be
no
coming from,
boundaries.
yeah, it has to be coming from a real place. There's got to be a real connective tissue and real point of view on like for something to feel cringe or big, it's unconnected, as I think
Hmm.
what we as an audience would feel. But the
Hmm.
fact that there's all of this kind of like verbose, huge movement, and it all kind of sits so perfectly in whatever the act is, I'm like, oh, this is translating. And I think it was fun to kind of finally have a reason to explore this kind of explosive physicality that like you just don't ever get to do. You
Hmm.
just don't get to do like I mean, walking in the what I think the heels were like 5 inches.
Yeah,
Just-
I have them lying around here somewhere, but
oh
yeah,
my
there
God.
was like a sizable heel.
Yeah.
So Yes.
But really being and Maliki was so helpful and like
Mhm.
hold your arms like this and be careful if you keep your arms down, like it'll make you look like more masculine versus kind of bending at the el like just such
Mm,
small details that were just so helpful and so like I said, like just I'm such a nerd for this stuff that like so fun to be like, okay, I'm gonna
yeah.
remember to do that and also like the transition of like when I'm becoming, back and forth the whole, I don't want to give too much away, but like
Right. Yeah.
letting
Spoilers.
letting the physicality kind of tell this story with you.
Yeah.
It's so fun.
It is. It is. And speaking of Myliki, I've been trying to do sort of like a little bit of like a drag shout out each
Yeah.
episode. We want to celebrate our fellow drag community, our local performers, our favorites on TV. I don't know when this is going to air, but we have the Drag Race finale coming up soon, which I have been following. And if anyone's wondering, I am a Darlene stan, and hopefully by the time this comes out, Darlene is the winner of Drag Race. But we'll see. But yeah, and I had sort of asked you beforehand if you had a drag queen that you wanted to give a shout out on this episode. Obviously, you worked very closely with a few of them on the project, so
Yes. I feel like I have to I have to give my props to Maliki and
yeah.
all that that queen does. I mean, I was told on one of the days of I think it was day two when my makeup was being done that a drag mother
Hmm.
is the person that helps you do the transformation the first time. So shout out to Maliki, my drag mother.
Yes, my leaky faucet. We'll get my leaky's handle up here. Everyone should go follow my leaky if you're not already. And follow, of course,
The
follow.
makeup
Yeah, go,
is
so good.
Hollywood wishes.
Yes,
Do it that way.
yes. We're gonna be seeing my leaky on TV again. I think soon.
I think so soon.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Cameron, what else is going on in your life? Anything fun outside of the acting and stuff? And you're in a few movies right now.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's funny. I think we were talking about this briefly before we started, but I was like, you do all these indie films, like one was
yeah.
5 years ago, one was 3 years ago, and one was a year ago, and it
Hmm.
all just kind of drops at the same time.
Yeah.
And it's cool. I think for me, like shout out to the filmmakers that did it because these indies are such passion projects, and you're duct taping it together with favors and even with this, like you just anything that finds its way into the sun, like I'm so grateful to have been a part of it and so happy for the people that have put the blood, sweat, and tears like into it because it really is like one of the films that came out was my movie.
Yeah.
So I had a taste of the producerial distro side of things and we finally released it on Amazon and Apple February 10th of this year, but it took
Hmm.
5 years
Well,
to
tell people what the movie is called so they
It's
can go
called
watch it.
Bight,
Hmm.
Bight, and it's an
Hmm.
erotic thriller that
It's
lives in
it's
the world.
very erotic.
It's very erotic. It
Hmm.
lives in the well, what's funny is when we made that, it was 2021, and I had told some people that like that's what we were doing, like when we were kind of coming up with a story,
Hmm.
because we didn't have any name, like we didn't have any celebrities, so we were like sex and violence, I guess will help it sell. And but at that time, like I believe we were a little more prudish than we are now because there was no Saltburn, no Baby Girl, no voyeurs, no like people like
Yeah.
that was dead. And it's cool that as it's coming out, all
Hmm.
these other things have come out or are still coming out, and it makes me feel like I fucking knew
Hmm. You were
it.
you were you were ahead of the envelope.
I knew that we were all hornier than we're allowing ourselves to be. Like I knew it, but
Hmm.
it's I'm very humbled that it finally got released after all the hard work that everybody put in.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
shout out to the indie filmmakers that are trying to get their stuff done. Like just keep
Hmm.
going, and
Yeah.
hopefully snatch soon for everybody to
Soon,
see.
soon. Yeah, we got to get through. We got to get through post, and then We'll hit the festivals, and we'll do some screenings, and it's gonna be great.
It's
And
gonna be awesome.
get a feature sold.
Yeah, there you go. It's gonna be awesome. And you
Yeah.
really did like you did such a great job. Like you
Thank
should
you.
be very, very proud. I think it's hard to come up with something original and see it through, like, and have the wherewithal to really like believe in the idea. And I think
Hmm.
when you have a filmmaker like yourself who has that, it really magnetizes like such a good group of like crew and everybody to kind of jump on that ship with you.
Yeah.
I think that's really the it seems like that's kind of the job of the filmmaker, is to really usher in this kind of, group to hop on the train, and I'm glad I was a part of it.
Yeah, I mean, I've always felt like I'm an ideas person. I have a lot of crazy ideas. It's hard to know like, okay, well, which one should I invest my time and energy into?
Yeah.
It's not necessarily the idea that's hard for me. It's knowing which one to invest in,
I have
and
the
then
same problem.
and believing in it and believing in yourself, right?
Yeah. Well, because
Um,
we don't realize it's with you for like half a decade potentially, So I'm with you. I sometimes think like, oh, this would be cool, or oh, this would be cool, but then you think, but is that the thing that I want to feel it?
I
I'm
know.
glad though that this is very deserving of all of the time.
Yeah, well, I mean, in your head, you're like, oh, this is amazing, this is great. But then you're like, oh, but am I the only one that's going to think that? So, I mean, it's been really helpful this whole process having people who will read the script and reinforce that, like, yes, this is good. And
It
you
is,
know,
and
20
ambitious.
people can say that, and then you can have like one thought of like maybe it's not so good, and that could just like ruin that, knock all the dominoes down.
One
One
whisper of like,
negative.
yeah, but that doesn't make sense. And you're
Yeah.
like, oh. But
Hmm.
honestly, when I read it, I was like, I love this swing. Like, this is ambitious. And ambition is a I I think it's a really good place to be, because it feels
Yeah.
like when it's scary, you're like, oh, I don't know, it's scary, I don't know. But that's usually
Hmm.
like the sign to do it.
Yeah.
Like if you're afraid of failing or afraid of doing what, that's usually my trigger. It's not so much the love, although oddly, like,
Yeah.
yeah, it goes hand in hand. But I think a lot of times when I'm really drawn, it's because initially I'm terrified. And this was something that I was like, oh shit.
Yeah. It it's been a roller coaster of a ride, like from like putting together the team, like, and everyone being so excited about it, like really helped push me over the edge of like, all right, I'm all in. And then like I remember like 3 days into the like launching the crowdfunding, I was like, what have I got myself into?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
I
Once
I,
you pull,
I
you're
was
like,
like,
I gotta get out.
I
I
gotta
gotta
get
get
out.
out.
It's not too late. I can still get out of this, right? Like,
Yeah, you're like, no, 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 time out, time out, no, 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 I don't want to do this anymore. No, but that's exactly why it's like I feel like that's when you have to do it.
yeah. Here we are. But yeah, what else is going on for you? Do you have a life outside of acting? Do you have any other passions that you're pursuing? Travel, hobbies?
I I I really have been. I guess it's one of those things. I don't know if I have been recently, but I guess it was like kind of spawned in COVID. But like I do love to cook. Like I'm getting into like the crazy sphere of like going to Crate and Barrel and getting all of these things so I can make like anything I want from scratch. Like I'll make pasta or bread, or I just made like a salted caramel ice cream and
Ooh.
everything is from scratch. And like I'm in that phase where I'm like, if it's from a box, I won't eat it. And I'm like,
Mm,
I'll just make it. And as time consuming as it is, it's a great way to be creative outside of acting. Because I feel like
mhm.
sometimes, I don't know if you feel like this, but sometimes even if I watch like a movie or a show, or if I'm reading a book, like someone bought the rights to that book, or that movie was something that like I wish I could have done. Like it all sort of
Mm,
feels like homework, even though it's like
sure.
how anybody with a normal 9 to 5 escapes. To us, it's so adjacently what we're kind of pursuing.
Hmm.
That it's nice to have a creative, like cooking is so creative and has zero to do with the acting
Yeah.
and film. So, you
Until
know,
you book a role as a chef, and now all of a sudden cooking becomes
yeah.
homework.
Yeah, I saw like a clip of Bradley Cooper's Burnt, and I was like, I'm not watching this movie. Like, not even gonna go into
I
that.
can't I
But
can't ruin my escape.
yeah, yeah. And I have I'm dog obsessed. I
Mm.
have a 1 year old dog that is it's at a point now. I think it's getting bad because like friends will make plans and I will pray for a cancellation so that I can just like sit on the couch with my dog. Like I'm at that point.
Got
So
it. Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Are you more extroverted or
Quietly,
introverted?
I I'm a homebody, but
Yeah.
I, I love a social gathering, you
Yeah.
know. I do. I do. I love it. I feel like I'm one of those people where I like don't want to go. And then once
Hmm.
I'm there, I'm like, oh, thank God I came.
I
You
know.
know.
Like, yeah.
Are you
I
the
feel like
same way?
that's I very much have always been very extroverted. And I think like the older I get, and especially I think post COVID, I had to, you have to learn how to be more us extroverted people had to like learn
Mhm.
how to like how do I live and not be around people every,
I
like
know.
weeks at a time.
Yeah.
Um, so I think for better or worse, I don't know if it's just getting older or if it's going through that and like learning, oh yeah, it's fine. I don't need to be like with people all the time to like
Yeah.
feel fulfilled in life.
Yes. I'm
There's
also getting to to that comfort. I'm trying to get to that comfort level
yeah.
as well of
Yeah.
like not having FOMO every time someone does something.
Hmm. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
all a balance.
Yeah.
Um, cool. You have another movie called Premarital, right? That's
Yes, that
just
is
recently come
in
out.
yeah, that's at I it's gonna come out on the Apple Amazon rental sphere. It's doing a small little theatrical run at some local AMC's like in the Midwest, and I think there's some in New York.
Hmm.
Um, but that was such a cute project, just another, passion project from this director, Robert Ingram, who grew up in a kind of patriarchal family where the dad was a pastor and they've got nine
Hmm.
brothers and sisters, and it's a very cute indie about um, this guy who's marrying one of the sisters who is not
He's
religious.
marrying his sister.
No, no, he's marrying one of the sisters of this.
The
Oh
sisters.
my God, different film.
Different
But
movie. Yeah.
so they spend the film trying to convert him. It's
Yeah.
very funny. But it's
I heard some reviews that they're saying like, oh, it's a great Christian film because there's a bit more of like a realness, I guess,
it's not
to
preachy.
yeah,
Like when I read it, I was because you read you those things can come up every now and then. It's like some of the faith-based stuff, and you're
yep,
like, I don't know if this is my audience. But it's
right.
always nice when it feels like, no, this is just a movie
Hmm.
happens to do with this, but it's actually just like a great film and it's funny and it doesn't poke fun so much as it like asks questions.
Hmm.
Like in a light way, in a palatable way, something that doesn't feel so um like kind of distancing or aggressive
Sure.
on either side of that coin. Like we did a
Yeah.
small screening in Glendale and we did a Q&A after, and there was this lovely girl who got emotional. Like she was just like, "Thank you so much for doing this." Like I grew up with like six sisters, and my dad was a pastor, and like we don't always speak because I'm out
Yeah.
here pursuing acting, and that was not okay. And it's nice to see that like families can forgive and move on and kind of meet you where you're at. And it was
Yeah.
like I was really I don't think I'd ever felt that anything that I'd been a part of, like I've never seen the physical manifestation of like touching someone's heart like that,
Wow.
So it was nice to be present for someone who was like, I feel seen.
Yeah.
And it's like a silly kind of family comedy, but you don't always realize like that's exactly what that person needed at that time. And I'm like, wow, this
Yeah.
is like not to be on that pedestal of art, but I'm like, oh, this is what art is for. But like
No,
it is, it's
that's
kind of nice.
Anthony and I were just talking about that in terms of like, like sometimes it seems frivolous and sometimes it is, but also sometimes like art can have huge effects on people's life, and that's part of I think why I feel driven to create
Hmm.
art is like I want to positively affect someone's life.
Yeah. No, that felt
Um
like I kind of that happened maybe 5 days ago, and I think it pops into my head
mhm.
like a couple times a day for like the past five. I mean, I know that's
Yeah.
relatively recent, but I just mean I think about it. and I'm like, oh, I've never really thought about my work after the fact in that regard. Like, I think, we spend so much time just like trying to pursue this where you're just like, okay, I got this, on to the next one. Okay, what's next though? Okay, what's
Hmm.
next? Like, this was great over here, but like, I got to get another job because this one's going to come to an end. Like, there's this
Yep.
scarcity thing that I don't always feel like I'm, to be honest, I don't always feel like I'm taking inventory of stuff like that. So it was nice to, like, she almost hit the pause button for me, which was kind
Nice.
of lovely. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think like as you were talking about, just like it's being able to ask questions
Mhm.
and learn from people who have different perspectives than you, different life experiences as you. I think
Yeah.
that's what I've loved about moving to a big city is meeting so many people from different backgrounds. That's what I love as a writer, as a creator, is
Yeah.
kind of stepping into the shoes of someone else's life and trying to learn like what have been their struggles, how, like what inspires them, how did you get here?
Yeah.
And I think that art and hopefully, what we did with Snatched can open up some conversations and, regardless of religious background, political beliefs, whatever, I think like we have so much more in common and so much more that we can learn from each other by listening and having a conversation versus just shutting people out because they're different than what we think is normal or what they should be.
I couldn't agree more. And
So,
I hope for the same. I
mhm,
think it's like that especially as we, get older, I think I find myself interested in projects that like have the potential to do something like that, or like
mhm,
have the potential to start a conversation or a dissertation after, you've seen it. Like some of my favorite moments after seeing a movie or when you go with like a group of friends is like the moment you all kind of stand outside the theater and like chat about what you just saw and like, oh, this
mhm.
meant that, and like someone else had
Yeah.
a different, I that's kind of the communal fun. So
Yep.
I hope that this project has the same kind of resolve that those films I love have.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful. Awesome.
Great.
Cameron, thank
Thank
you
you.
for being here. Thank you for doing all this. Where can people follow you if they want to see what you're up to?
On Instagram at Cameron Cowperthwaite. So my name,
Right.
long, but that's
Y-
it.
It's on the screen. People can see how to spell it. We'll
Okay, great.
throw it up there. We'll throw it in the show notes.
Thank
Um,
you.
and yeah, please follow Snatched Film. Follow us on Instagram, YouTube. You can subscribe to the podcast if you just want the audio feed. Lots of opportunities, and make sure to check out our merch. We're raising money for post production right now. Everything costs a lot. Hopefully, we'll get to do some festivals and some traveling, and all of these things cost money. So if you want to support what we're doing, buy a shirt, send us a donation, show us some love, send us some likes, share with your friends. And I hope everyone has a beautiful Snatched week. Last words, Cameron, before we close out.
Stay snatched.
Stay
Stay
snatched.
snatched.
Get snatched and stay
Stay
snatched.
snatched.